The Rockefellers, the family which built its multi-million-dollar philanthropic organization from oil, is set to announce that it's selling its investments in fossil fuels and reinvesting in clean energy. The Rockefeller Fund is one of a number to join a coalition pledging to rid themselves of more than $50 billion of assets tied to fossil fuels. It comes ahead of the opening of the UN Climate Change Summit on Tuesday. Well, with me is Tom Burke, who's the chairman of the environmental organisation E3G, former advisor to the British government on climate change. Good evening.
Good evening.
How significant is this, do you think?
I think it's of enormous symbolic significance because the people who brought you the oil age are now saying, in effect, the oil age is over. And I think that matters a lot.
Are they really saying that?
Oh, I think in terms of the way any symbolic act really says that, yes, they are. And they're saying it at an interesting moment. They're saying it just in front of the Ban Ki-moon summit, and I doubt the timing's accidental, so that gets it maximum attention. But they're also saying it when there have been a whole raft of reports coming out of the investment banks, the analysts, saying that renewables are the thing to invest in, that the prices are coming down, the value of investments there are going up. So it's both the right thing to do for a philanthropic organisation, but it's also a smart thing to do. And I think that's been very carefully thought through.
I was interested in your use of the word smart, because I was sitting here in advance of this conversation thinking, well, these people have made an absolute fortune out of oil. Yeah. These are shrewd business people, so they're not just there doing it for altruistic reasons. They've done the sums as well.
I think they've seen the right alignment. We've seen what's been happening to the oil industry anyway, getting overextended, having a real difficulty in finding new investments that generate good return on their assets. They're all cutting back on their capital expenditure. So people are really beginning to see anyway that investments in this sector are under stress, and then they're seeing events and the kind of demonstrations we saw all over the weekend, all over the world, beginning to push governments into taking more action on climate change. Well, at that point, you know, the future value, given that you have to wait a long time before you get your money back in the oil industry, that begins to look a lot more risky. And I think that's, in a way, what the Rockefellers are being shrewd about.
You talk about pushing governments into action. Only some governments, and that's an important part of this story as well, isn't it?
I think what's extraordinary is that all of the major emitters are now, all in one way or another, doing quite a lot. Rather more, I think, than people sometimes expect. There are 60 countries which have climate legislation on their books, for instance. What we've seen recently in China is the announcement of a far bigger emission trading scheme than we've got in Europe. We're seeing the Chinese invest a lot more in their renewables than we're investing. We've seen Obama really make this an enormous legacy issue, pushing out in all kinds of fronts, not just domestically in the US, but also in their diplomatic effort to make this an issue. So I think we're seeing more action. Now, if it's enough, that's a much more open question.
Okay, we must leave it there. Tom Burke, thanks very much indeed for coming in. Thank you.